Welcome everybody to Paranormal, more normal than we think. Today we're joined with Brian, and we have no idea what he's really going to tell us about. So, why don't you give us a little hint?
Well, first, thanks for having me on, and it's an honor to be here, and thanks for doing what you do. Is it okay if I'm walking around in the evening here? Is that too creepy with me looking like a
I love it.
dark silhouette? Okay.
Is it cloudy out there too?
Yeah, we're in the middle of there's a lull in the storm. I do better when I walk and talk, so if you don't mind.
Dude, oh my gosh, I do the same thing. When I get it on my cell phone,
Yeah.
I gotta walk and talk.
Yeah, that's right.
Have at it.
Well, so I guess part of the story is when I was a kid, I had I had a couple of UFO sightings, nothing, just like seeing one, whoa, what's that,
Mm-hmm.
One, I was very young. I had to have been 4, and I remember it scared the hell out of me, but no one else saw it. And it was very, very clear and low to me, slowly going across the sky. And I could see a shape of it, blinking lights, really strange shape.
What was the shape? Could you describe it?
Yeah, do you remember, you're probably too young, but there used to be a show called I Dream of Jeannie.
Oh yeah.
And there was a genie bottle.
Oh.
It looked like a lit up genie bottle with lights kind of oscillating around it. But they weren't round lights, they were like almost vent shaped lights going around it. And I didn't know if I really saw it or not, but years later, now I'm 52, I was talking to my dad, now the blue, he just said, you remember when you said you saw that UFO? Did you? I was like, well, I must have, if you're asking me about it. But nothing happened then. And then years later, maybe 4 years later, I was playing outside alone. And here comes another one. This one's different. And it was a blue light and a red light, almost just like two little orbs, like you'd see on Close Encounter with the Third Kind.
Yeah.
They just went right over my head down there. I was outside playing by myself. Down the street they went right over my head. Didn't stop, didn't abduct me or anything like that. Just went by, and it freaked me out again. I ran in, told my parents, and of course they said it was an airplane, but it was.
Oh, of course.
This is like 25 feet over my head. It came right down the street, right down the sidewalk, right over my head. No noise.
How low would you say it was?
It's hard for me to say now because I'm so much older, but if memory serves me right, 25 feet.
Jesus, that's low, man. And it couldn't have been ball lightning. There's no way, because it would have electrocuted the hell out of you.
Well, there's two of them. One was red and one was blue, and it looked like they were connected. I couldn't see anything connecting them, but the way that they moved, they appeared to be connected in some way, and they were kind of like wavering up and down, like
a wave, just like swimming.
Yes, yeah, kind of. And if you imagine they were connected, like one side would go down and the other side would go up,
like a teeter-totter.
Exactly like that, but much more subtle.
Okay.
But I couldn't see a connection, but it looked like they were in some way. That's all I can say.
That's so weird. That is really, really weird. I've never heard one like that. I've heard several different sightings and whatnot that are really weird, but that one is really weird. And to me, I find the weirder ones to be the more true ones because they're harder to make up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess all I can tell you is it's what I saw. I don't, like you said, like we were talking off air. And I don't know what it was. I just know that it was there. I saw it. And then from then, I guess, later in life, honestly, after Lou Elizondo came forward with all this UFO stuff, and I was like, wow, it blew my mind, because I kind of decided I didn't believe in that stuff. And then I started looking at Jacques Vallée interviews. And one of the things that he brought up, and this changed my life, actually. It's changed my perception, I should say. It didn't change my life. I had a paradigm shift, right? So what he had mentioned was a lot of people have kind of paranormal events before or after seeing them.
Yep.
And so I started looking back on some things that had happened in my life. And I started realizing that, wow, I have had a lot of things that I just have dismissed over and over and over again. But then later in life, I've had some very, very powerful, undeniable to me events happen.
Hey, elaborate for sure, because I mean, paranormal isn't just about UFOs here. We cover it all. So if you feel like you feel comfortable,
I'm an open book.
Well,
it's just kind of sometimes hard to figure out where to begin. You know?
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I get lost in these interviews, man. Sometimes I get like so lost in a question that I'll be like, "Wait, what was the question?" It happens. I cut it out of the video, but it happens.
I'm gonna start with when my wife and I had mentioned that we travel, and we had I was reading a book called Faustus by Goethe, a really great German writer. And I was reading this book. It's very magical and weird. And we're staying in this little town called Biarritz in southern France, right off the Bay of Biscay. Mm-hmm. And I was sleeping. No, I wasn't asleep. I was laying in bed, just kind of not asleep, just laying there, trying to fall asleep.
In that Twilight Zone kind of area?
Yeah, but very conscious, not dreaming, very conscious.
Okay.
And I see these 5 things in my mind's eye. They look like stones, and they had symbols on them. I recognized them as some sort of writing, and I was thinking, but I don't understand the writing. I wish I could understand the writing. And as soon as I said that, the writing started morphing. And I realized I knew there's something in me. I usually when I talk about this, I say I realized what they said. That's not true. That's not right. What it is there was something in me that was like something in me was able to decode it. And each stone, for lack of a better term, had a different word or different concept, not word, but concept. And the first concept was like the word all. The next one was souls. The next one, all souls. The next one I couldn't really get, but it was something like gaze.
Like
all souls
looking?
Yes. All souls gaze upwards forever. And as soon as the word forever was decoded, it was like, you see in the movies when people sit upright in bed, they're like, oh, like that,
God, I got a story to tell you, buddy. It's going to freak you out, but continue.
Yeah, so like it's like it was like I was propelled. It was like I was being propelled from my body. I lost all my breath, and I'm sitting upright in bed, panting.
Yep.
And my wife is like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I'm like, I didn't know how to describe it. I just did the best I could. And that was the thing that made me think. I mean, it was just so strange.
It was an awakening.
Real.
I call it an awakening because it happened to me too.
Yeah.
I even talked about it before this video in another video. I even said that I'm very uncomfortable talking about it, but since you shared yours, I want to share mine.
Sure, go ahead.
So I was laying in bed one night listening to a podcast. I actually have them coming on the show. I'm actually doing an interview with them, which is amazing. And if they're watching this, what's up, Andy and Dan? How y'all doing? But I can't wait either, because in 5 days it's my birthday, and that's when we're going to decide. I'm fanboying again. I'm sorry. Anyway,
okay, that's right.
I was listening to them, and I was laying in bed, and I was doing the same thing, trying to fall asleep. And this feeling came over my body, and it was just like this most euphoric, tingly, just the greatest feeling of just love, compassion, and just wholeness, just absolute wholeness. Yeah. And like I felt this feeling in my chest, and it pulled me up. I wasn't levitating or nothing, but my body did pull up. And I stayed like that for about 5 seconds, and my eyes were closed. And when you started talking about stones, that's what freaks me out, because I didn't see stones. What I saw was you've seen a kaleidoscope before, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So imagine in my mind is a kaleidoscope, and there's a rectangle like right here, and it's spinning this way, and it's like made out of red mirrors, and then there's two diamonds on top that are like just sitting there, and it's just like all kaleidoscopy and stuff, and it made no sense. But why did I have this powerful emotion that I've never felt before, and I probably won't ever feel again? And it awoke me. And you know what happened the next day? I have worked since I was 15 years old. I'm 27 years old. I lost my job the first time in my entire life the next day. I got fired, and I will admit it. But it blew my mind because that was the first time ever. And it was over something stupid, not going to go into it. But that feeling was so powerful that when I came home, I looked at my wife and I said, "Are you real?" And she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Are you actually here, or am I just putting you here in my head? Like, what is going on?" Dude, for a week or two, even there's moments now where I can't tell reality from whatever the hell this is, you know?
Well, let me share. Can I share one back?
Have at it. I want all of it.
So even prior to that, I had a similar experience, and this one I can't remember very well. So some of my experiences, I hate putting it this way, but it's the truth. You know, I will wake up while asleep. So you've heard of lucid dreaming. It's not lucid dreaming. It's not lucid dreaming. I'll be asleep, and all of a sudden I'll wake up. My body's asleep, but I am wide awake. No, I'm wide awake. I could sit up, I could get up and stand up. I'm wide awake, but I just know that there's a part of my mind that's asleep, but I'm waking up in the middle of it. And and what I've come to believe, I want to say realize, but I can't say it. It doesn't fit. I've come to believe that there is a lot of information that's being passed along that we're not aware of, and that we can at times wake up in the middle of it. And it seems like to me, and again, this is just one guy's perception and my attempt to understand it.
That's why we're here, man.
But it seems like it's almost like an internet that's always turned on and it's always flowing, and sometimes it's knowledge from I don't know where, or concepts from I don't know where. And sometimes we can wake up to the middle of it. And I was shown, I feel, a vision. And this was again another paradise shift for me. And what I saw our Earth, and I was off the planet, and it was a great ball. Wow, I feel emotional telling this. It was a great ball of energy, like light. It's like, I assume, a soul. The planet was. And from the planet, from the light, from the planet would come these, they almost look like tentacles, but what it was different. It was individual souls rising up out of it, but it was still all connected. They would rise up and there would be a person, and then they'd fall back into it. And there was just this continuous undulating, or I don't want to say recycling, but this continuous undulating of individual identities rising up out of the soul and falling back into the soul, and rising up out of the soul and falling back into the soul. And I don't know what it means, but I take it as, and I've come to believe that, you know, we separate ourselves from nature, but we're Earth, dude. We are the Earth. We are just like a tree, just like a leaf, just like a slug, just like an ant. We are Earth. We are nature, and there is, I think, one great big intelligence out there that we're a part of in some way. We can share it. I think we are sharing it, but we're not always conscious of it. The potentiality to become conscious of it is there.
Yes. The collective consciousness is what I've always called it. Dude, me and you have the same mindset, dude. Same mindset.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I've actually asked one of my researchers about the possibility of all the planets being a completely fully evolved form of an organism.
Okay, check. All right, this is going to blow your mind, bro. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about serendipity and a coincidence. All right, so here's what I started doing, dude. Every night for a while when I was going to sleep, I would meditate. I'd fight for this meditative state, And sometimes I would find myself, I'd find a sweet spot, and it was like popping through and into another dimension, kind of.
That weightless feeling.
It's hard to explain. Like, to me, it's almost like a whole nother reality, man. I don't even feel like I have a body. It's almost like someone turned on a TV in my head.
And that makes sense. And it's nothing but static, right?
Sometimes, but sometimes what it was is like a TV that has a very dim picture that I could barely see, and I'll focus in and I can kind of somehow pass through whatever veil is in between me and when I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm there. And sometimes it's weird, crazy stuff like lizards, like lizardy looking. No, like real lizards. Like, this is weird. I won't even go that. There's nothing in that, but it was just like a weird image of lizards, right?
Right.
But later on, I started getting to where I could cycle through these things, like from one channel to the next. And one time, now this is where God, dude, see, I get mixed up.
Hey,
there's so many different ones. I get mixed up with what I'm talking.
I do the same thing to Mitch, to Cody, to everybody. I welcome this because this is
appreciate it.
Genuine. This is a genuine person. This is not scripted. Yeah. I love this. Have at it.
Yeah.
Get lost.
So to go back to your thing about the planets. So this sounds so weird, bro, but I would sometimes find myself in conversation with someone. Like, I could ask a question and I would get an answer, and it would check me if I started using my intellect to try to figure out what it was saying to me. It had a way of checking me,
like scanning you? Like quote unquote.
No, like stopping me from doing that, like showing me you're thinking right now. Don't think, listen, or watch, or accept. And I would have to shut my intellect off and just take in.
Kind of like when you're driving from A to B and you get there and you're like, how did I get there? That moment.
Kind of like that, but it's just more like just watch the movie and take it in. Don't talk during the movie. Don't speculate during the movie. Just watch the movie.
Shut off, basically.
Yeah, and if I started trying to make sense of it, it had a way of, it was an emotional response. It was like like it would pull away from me. If I started trying to reason through things, it would start to pull away from me. One time, and I'll get to the planets thing in a second. One time, I was just, you've seen tarot cards?
Yes.
I was trying to connect, for lack of a better term, and I was having trouble, and I was shown, it looked like a yellow tarot card with a green brain on it. And then it would switch from the brain to a brain that's being pinched in the middle. Then it would switch back to the brain. And then it would switch to the brain being squeezed a little bit. And somehow I realized what it was telling me is I'm stopping it and blocking it when I'm trying to intellectualize it. It was teaching me how to listen to it.
You were giving off interference when you think, and it was
That's
interfering
right.
with it. Okay.
In some way or another. So I was dumbfounded by the fact that I really, in my heart of hearts, believe that whatever this was that sometimes communicates with me took the time to try to teach me how to do it.
How long ago was it that you became a believer?
I don't know. I guess I've always had a toe in it.
Because of the experiences you had while you were 4.
Yes, and then Lou came out with all that stuff. Then that really turned me on to UFOs, but never this paranormal stuff at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, do you believe in ghosts? Yeah, I think so, but no thought, no belief, just kind of like same thing as, do you believe in, I don't know, germs or something? Yeah, I guess
like
I do. You know what I mean?
Something you don't really ponder upon.
Right.
Unless it happens to you, like AJ. Poor AJ. Oh my gosh. You got to watch all my videos, man. I'm not trying to just promote it. It's just worth it. I promise.
I will. So I got to where I could get into a spot where I could ask I could ask questions and I'd get answers. And so take this with a grain of salt. I'm just share with you what I think was shared with me.
Absolutely, have at it.
So I asked about UFOs. What are they? Where are they from? And whomever or whatever I'm communicating with, if you decide to believe that I am, like I do, found that to be kind of a funny question. Like I got this kind of like this sense of that's funny that you would ask me that,
Right.
And what I was told was it's many things. It's different places and from different times, and they all are here for different reasons. Each one of them. Some of them are here because they're curious about the way that our matter is put together. Some of them are looking for things to help, to learn about, our animals and shit like that. Just like I don't know about scientists, but they're here to gather things to bring back to help their world, I guess, for lack of a better explanation, but many-fold. And then I asked about, I don't know why, but I asked about the planets. And that was very interesting because all of a sudden I was shown like a model of our solar system. And it cycled through each planet, almost like a computer program, where you'd kind of go to Saturn, then you go to Jupiter.
Kind of like a video game, like you move to
kind
the planets.
Yeah, kind of. And it was cycling through each one, and he said that each one will have its time. I don't know what that means. Each one will have its time.
Uh-oh. I think we lost you. Uh-oh. Is that me or is that him? Sorry about that, guys. He lost connection. He's walking around and, probably the aliens abducted him. Who knows? But we're here
If they
now.
did, I remember nothing of that, but maybe, who knows?
Well, you sound better than Travis Walton.
Yeah, true. So, just to pick up where I was leaving off, it's just so I was shown all the planets and told that each one will have its time. I don't know what that means. I have an idea of what it might mean, but that's my own interpretation. I just don't know. But the next thing was it pulled back from me, and I saw a replica of the solar system pull back, and there was a big ring of fire around our solar system. And I don't know. I just remember thinking that's kind of weird.
I wonder if that's the Kepler cloud.
You know what I think it is, because later on, now this will bring me to another thing that happened to me too. But I find myself looking on the internet sometime, and I'll find something that'll connect to something I saw or was told, or however you want to interpret that. And there's something called the Heliosphere.
I haven't heard of
and
that.
I didn't know about I hadn't either, but one of our satellites, one of our first satellites, just passed through the Heliosphere, which is a great ring or bubble of fire that surrounds our solar system that's created by our sun. So it's super hot. It's like if you imagine the end of a flame, like where the sun reaches out to, it protects us. It's like a bubble that's created by the radiation from our sun. I had no idea about it. So it's called the Heliosphere. I didn't know about that, but I was shown it.
You are a special individual for some reason.
Well, I don't want to say that, but thank you for saying it.
I would think that because, man, that's special. Because if you saw that before it even happened, that's super special.
Well, I think it had happened, but I was shown it, and then I came across it on the internet. Now, I don't know the timing of anything. I don't know how that timing works, and I don't want to pretend that I was shown something that before it happened, because I don't know that to be true. I was shown something that I was unaware of and later discovered it. And I suspect, now this is just, again, I try to be very clear when I talk about this stuff, because there's what I was shown, then there's what I think and what I suspect. So I try to make those clear.
Right.
I suspect I'm sometimes shown things so that at least for me, it validates this conversation I'm having.
Makes you feel less crazy, I guess.
Yeah, more trustworthy of what's happening.
Yep.
So another one, now this was really weird. So again, I'm in a meditative state, I'm kind of dozing off, and all of a sudden I kind of snap to. Again, I wake up to something, and what I woke up to was an MRI cycling through a brain, top to bottom, not side to side, but top to bottom. And it kept pausing partway through on this structure in the brain that looks like two eggs, right? And the concept to my mind was, this is where it's put together, or this is where it's all put together, or this is where we put it together, or this is something like that. And I don't know brain anatomy. I work in insurance. I'm not a physician. I don't work in medicine. I don't know anything about the brain, and I don't even work in medical insurance. It's like liability and that kind of stuff. So again, next day, I'm on the internet, and all of a sudden I find myself looking at brains, and then I start going, oh man, this reminds me of the night before, because sometimes like I'll have those moments, and then I forget about them a little bit the next day, you know. Now I find like subconsciously, perhaps my mind starts looking for this stuff. So I find this cool website, and I can't even tell you what it is now, but you could see MRIs. You know, you could cycle through these MRIs, but it was like really hard to find. Ones? Yeah. Wow. But it was really hard to find one that went from top to bottom. So there is a structure in our brain that looks like
the two. What'd you call
it?
They
look like eggs. They look like eggs. And I believe that's the thalamus, but there's other structures all around it, and maybe the thalamus is part of something else. I am, like I said, I know nothing about the brain. So I looked at, well, what does the thalamus do? What does that structure do? And theoretically, I learned that what it does is that's where all of our sensory perceptions go to the thalamus. The thalamus then takes that information and sends it out to wherever it needs to go to the brain, and then the brain then interprets it all. But all sensory input starts in the thalamus, as I understand it. It comes to the thalamus first, as I understand it.
The input center, basically.
I think so. I think that's the main processing center. Yeah, it comes in there, and then it decides what to do with it from there. So I didn't know what to do with that. That was a very strong experience, you know. Like, and it really, I couldn't stop thinking about that one. And so I reached out to Robert Hastings.
Robert Hastings.
He wrote UFOs and Nukes. He's the guy that writes all those books on. And but he usually just talks to military guys. And he was the first guy that I said, "Can I talk to you about something? I'm not military." And he's like, "Oh, what do you got?" He probably hears that stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know. I kind of gave him a little bit, and he's like, "Well, let's talk on the phone." So he was the first one I really opened up to about all this stuff. And he turned me on. He told me I need to reach out to a guy named Ray Hernandez. And Ray Hernandez is Edgar Mitchell founded a foundation before he died, and it deals with UFO experiences beyond the experience of UFOs, kind of like in the mind and all that stuff. So I reached out to Ray Hernandez, and I told him about the thalamus. I said, I just feel like I need to tell someone, because this feels very real, and I feel like it might be important to somebody. And because the way I interpret this is that is where I think that they can log into us. And when they do, they log in at the thalamus level.
Is it the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation?
It's called Free something or other, and it's Edgar Mitchell founded it. Edgar Mitchell was an astronaut, and he had a paradigm shift one time. And he's supposedly spoken to a lot of astronauts who have said that they've seen UFOs, et cetera, and had a lot of experiences, but they're under NDAs, but they supposedly have opened up to him. He's now passed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I just saw that. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So the name of it's called the Free Foundation. And Ray Hernandez is, I don't know. He's one of the guys there, president, or I don't know. He runs it, I think. Free Foundation. It's okay. I think it's changed its name since then. But anyway, it's called. If you look up Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation, you'll certainly come across it.
Right.
And Ray Hernandez is the gentleman I emailed with. And I just said, look, I just want to tell this to you because you're gathering information on this stuff, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like I was given something important. I need to share it with someone who may be able to connect it to something else.
Right.
And so he's like, well, I'm confused. Who told you this? Who told you this about the thalamus? And I said, I don't know. I said, it just kind of,
like a light bulb.
I feel like, I said, I feel like an intelligence gave it to me. And he came back to me and said, here's a paper written by a professor that thinks what you just described is totally true.
Wow.
And I attempted to read it. It's way too scholarly for me to read on a short reading. I'd have to print it out and sit down and read it. And with my line of work, unfortunately, doing that kind of heavy reading, I got to do it for my job. So now doing it, it's tough.
Yeah.
So I haven't read it, frankly, but I don't need to. I really don't need to read it because I know what my experience. It happened to me, you know.
Yep. You
You
watched the movie. He read the book.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I'll tell you, Ray's had, as I understand it, some really incredible. You whenever you get a minute, Ray Hernandez, go onto YouTube and look him up. And he'll tell his story. He was a non-believer, and he had his I mean, just an amazing, cool experiences, man. Awesome, to me anyway. I'd love for that to happen to me, but it doesn't. And one of the things I was talking to Robert Hastings about is that it seems like my experiences are not what I want. Like, I would rather see a UFO land.
Yeah.
I would rather get abducted, frankly.
Right.
But I don't get that. I get the things in the way that if other people were to tell me, I would think they were bullshitting me. Honest to God. So it's weird, dude. It's like they choose, or it or they or whatever choose to communicate with me in a way that I don't believe. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It absolutely does. Because the whole kaleidoscope deal, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, what does that tell me? But why did I have such an emotional response to it?
So, I got to. My wife likes to call them signals, and I'm kind of gotten used to referring to it as a signal. So, to me, it's like I'm intercepting a radio wave or an internet signal. I don't know. It just kind of feels that way to me. I don't know any other better way to describe it. So. I have a. So, give the caveat. This is a little bit of what I've gotten, how I've interpreted it. You know how a lot of people describe it's like telepathy when they communicate with you, because you get oftentimes it's an image, but it's packed with data. It's like it's this. It's an image that contains more than an image. And you know what that reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of a meme.
Wow.
Isn't it a little bit like a meme?
No, that's exactly like a meme. Because it's a picture that has way more information in it than just a picture.
That's right.
That is smart. That is smart. I like that.
Well, it didn't come from me.
Oh.
But the thing I think I've been shown is that this is eventually, like the internet, is eventually going to lead to us. That is going to be the way we end up communicating. It's something. It's going to keep going further and further until we're able to open it up beyond our little closed network. We're going to figure out how to communicate outside of this. I think that we are given ideas and concepts from somewhere else. And maybe it's in the ether, maybe it's all around us, and only certain people catch it, like the Einsteins of the world catch these things, or the Teslas or the whoever, and they can make more of it. Some of them, I think they're conscious of it when it happens, and some of them they just think they're getting an idea. But I think it's all out there coming to us, and I think we're being prepared. And I think the internet, et cetera, and memes and stuff like that, it's a form. I think we're being taught telepathy. I think.
I mean, that would be the natural progression forward for our evolution. I mean, period. You give us enough time, we will develop telepathy. We will lose our mouths. We will lose our booty holes and stuff because we won't need them. Because the whole point of evolution is to become more and more efficient. Eating is so inefficient. It is incredibly inefficient because you go 3 or 4 days without it, you're going to start feeling real bad. Same with water.
Yeah.
But if you evolve past that, you become a being that is way more powerful.
The Earth itself, so far as we know, doesn't need anything.
See,
It
that's
sure is
my
alive,
thought too.
though. It sure is alive, though.
I always ask my guests who are incredibly interesting, incredibly nice, incredibly just a genuine good person. I always ask them if they would like to come back on at some later point and talk more about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'd love to.
Well, do you have any closing statements?
Yeah, sure. I would just tell you some I've come to believe out of this whole thing. If anyone's listening, I encourage you to learn how to meditate. I encourage you to learn how to clear your mind and to open your eye and just watch. Don't think, just watch. You may be surprised. You may be taught something. You may be communicated with. You may be brought to some weird portal and view some things. But I sincerely believe that there's something out there that's reaching out.
Yep. And let me add to that. Go outside of your comfort zone. You feel like you don't want to believe in aliens, you don't want to believe in UFOs, that's fine. Just give it 5 minutes. Really, truly try to believe for 5 minutes about aliens and meditate on it. And I guarantee you'll come out a believer. I guarantee it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey.
But I appreciate it, Brian. It was
sure, man.
God, it was interesting. I loved it, man. I loved it.
Good.
So,
well, we didn't get to do all of it, man. I've got some more I'm more than happy to share with you, and just let me know.
So
for sure.
Perfect.
Okay.
This is going to be great. Great partnership.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you.
Hey, absolutely. All right, you have a good one.
You too. Take care.
All right, guys. That was Brian. That was interesting. That was interesting. I mean, he took my sentiments exactly. Like, I've thought the same things, the same theories. That was crazy. There's my alarm. Everybody knows my alarm. But yeah, that was wild. I cannot wait to have him back. Man, I can't. But anyways, y'all have a good one.